You're challenged every day to provide a safe and secure learning environment. In response to a growing number of incidents, schools across the country have implemented safety measures such as access control, video, anonymous tip submissions, panic buttons, and emergency push notifications. Everyone is focused on improving safety. Yet, the biggest challenge is a reliable emergency response, how to intelligently connect your networks, devices, and technologies so that school officials can communicate and collaborate with staff and first responders. So when cell lines are jammed or Wi-Fi is unresponsive, you can still communicate wherever you are. And while shootings are rare, everyday incidents are a reality. Everything from a sports injury or a pipe bursting to blocked lanes and sick students. Imagine if maintenance workers, administrators, teachers, bus drivers, and the rest of your staff were instantly connected and situationally aware, even with first responders, through voice and data, video, and work order tickets. With an integrated communication solution in place, you can now think prevention by infusing video analytics that help identify potential threats and anticipate what's coming next. When a camera detects loitering near a back door, the system flags it. A report is logged in incident management and dispatch software. Alerts go out to staff radios in real time. They respond instantly. The potential situation is averted. But why stop there? Take your security one step further by detecting unauthorized vehicles and comparing license plates against suspended student hot lists to alert a security officer of a potential threat, or incorporating remote access control that shuts down entire corridors and sends mass notifications when an intruder is spotted. And if the situation escalates, your video analytics can be tied in to the local law enforcement's command center so they can have eyes on the scene and instantly alert first responders to what's happening. Now you have the power to change outcomes in the moments that matter. Communicate, prevent, respond. That's how you enhance safety and security operations and create the safest learning environment possible. Only with Motorola Solutions.
Hello, and welcome to the Virtual Safe School event. My name is Mike Humphreys, and I'll be your host today. You know, in these challenging times, school administrators need to use every tool available to ensure a safe, secure learning environment for students and a safe work environment for teachers and staff. Our goal is to familiarize you with some of the newer technology available to you today, right now, that can help you provide the safest possible school environment for students and staff. To get us started, here's a message from the president of EMCI Wireless, Chaz Elliott.
Thanks, Mike. I'd like to personally welcome everyone and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to allow both EMCI and Motorola Solutions to showcase some of our products and services that can further enhance the safety and security of your school campuses. Between the 45 years that EMCI has dedicated and the over 90 years that Motorola Solutions has dedicated to provide first responders in your areas with mission-critical communications, we understand some of the challenges that you face on a daily basis. We appreciate what you do, and we're committed to providing the necessary tools for you to increase the safety and security of your school campuses. This is what we do, and we help people be their best in their moments that matter most. I hope that you'll find the next 45 minutes valuable and you're able to walk away with some new thoughts and ideas on how to provide better communications and a safer environment on your school campuses for your staff, visitors, and students. Before we get into the details, I would like to take a few moments for you to meet your local sales consultants that will take care of you on a daily basis. Thank you again.
Hi, my name is John Scargill. I cover Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, and Pasco County for EMCI Wireless. I am your direct contact.
Chris Alford. I handle the Central Florida counties of Orange, Osceola, Lake, Polk, and Sumter. I look forward to working with you.
Hello, my name is Trent Bennett. I handle the Southwest Florida region, along with the Treasure Coast on the east side of the state.
Hey there, Rob Sweat here with EMCI Wireless. I'm your Motorola Solutions consultant for Seminole, Volusia, and Brevard counties. So the next time you think wireless, think of EMCI. We're here to help. Thank you.
Now that you've been introduced to the EMCI team of professionals, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Todd Bewer, Portfolio Strategist with the Motorola Solutions Safety Reimagined initiative. Todd?
Modern technology challenges that we expect you've been facing, both whether it be COVID related, but really more focused around security technologies. The different customer outcomes that our Safe Schools ecosystem can enable for you. Touch a little bit on integrations and the integrations available within our ecosystem and why that matters, why that's important, how that can drive customer outcomes that wouldn't be available, you wouldn't be able to solve for problems otherwise without some of these integrations. And we'll really illustrate that through a few use cases, at least for me to see that in pictorial format and the use case is really beneficial. And then we'll wrap up with grant funding and Q&A as well. As Katie said, as you do have questions, please just enter those into the chat window here in the GoToWebinar chat, and we'll get to those. We'll make sure we allow time for those at the end. But let's go ahead to the next slide here, Katie. We're going to start out here with just a few of the technology challenges that Safe Schools addresses through this connected ecosystem. The first of which really is just the simple benefit of the ecosystem itself. Typically security technologies, as I'm sure you've experienced or are experiencing today, they're siloed, they're disjointed. Your radios don't talk to your cameras, they don't talk to your access control system or your incident management software. They're not passing data or video or sharing any data back and forth between each other, which results in ultimately really broken workflows, slower responses. I'm guessing that your IT teams and security teams are also challenged just to keep up with this technology refreshes and the support that's required for by each of these disparate systems. They're probably juggling multiple vendors, support plans, contracts, and most importantly, I expect that most of your security workflows are only addressing the forensic investigation, kind of that after the fact, going back to check the video after that incident's occurred, and they're not able to proactively detect and prevent incidents before they occur, or at least before they escalate. Safe Schools addresses each of these challenges with this integrated ecosystem, all from one vendor, leveraging artificial intelligence at the edge on the cameras and moving your security team from the reactive to the proactive. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Katie. A few points to keep in mind here about an integrated Safe School solution. We knew when designing this that it had to be modular. As you've seen, this touches on a lot of different technology sleeves, and we knew that the solution had to allow this wide breadth of capabilities, but the ability to build it out over time, build out that technology roadmap within your district, probably not a single school in this district in this country has the luxury of replacing their radio network or upgrading at the same time. They're upgrading their video security network and access control and incident management software, right? But you don't need to, right? That's a really important thing to understand as we dive a little bit further into the technology here. You can make these technology decisions kind of with the end in mind and understanding how what you're buying today can interface with other things and solve for additional problems down the road as you add those additional technologies in the future. But because it's the solution's flexible, also it allows you to start with your topmost concern. Right? You don't have to go from A to B to C here, but address your topmost concerns first. Whether it's unified communications, improvements to your current video security capabilities, incident management, or otherwise. But really, it is extremely flexible in that way. And really, we know that forklifts are basically a swear word here. We don't want to have to talk about doing those, and generally, you shouldn't have to, right? If you can leverage recent camera investments that you've made. Over the last 3 or 4 years, if you've purchased cameras, they're probably UNVIF compliant cameras. It's an industry standard that can be used as part of this solution. And depending on the access control system you're using today, it'll probably leverage a lot of that as well. From a radio perspective, if you have Mototurbo radios, a Mototurbo radio network, you're probably looking at maybe a minor upgrade to a handful of radios, or maybe upgrading a handful of radio software, or the radio itself, just for the security team and maybe administrators who need to receive security alerts on their radio. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But you know, key piece here is that there are a lot of components you probably already have that can be leveraged and utilized within this ecosystem. And then lastly, it's these integrations that the solution offers that really do make for a better together approach for radio communications, video security, access control, incident management software, right? It's these integrations that enable the capabilities beyond which each individual technology can offer, and allows, again, moves your security team, allows them to move from a solution that's probably just gathering evidence after the fact today to one that can actually detect the unusual and you know, at times even alert security teams to an issue before it becomes an incident. You know, while each of these technologies really does stand on its own as best in class, particularly Mototurbo for land mobile radio and the Vigilon for video security and access control. So as you start layering these together, it's, you know, and with these integrations we built, that nobody else in the market can offer these types of capabilities. Really, you know, again, moving your team from the reactive to the proactive, and importantly, for not just big incidents, major events, but for minor everyday communications and minor incidents, minor events. So as well as everything in between. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Katie. So Motorola Solutions, we started on this journey about 5 years ago as we started building out our software business for public safety, really. And a lot of these capabilities were born and bred within the public safety realm. And now we're moving that into commercial security. We have moved that to commercial security here. We've, you know, through over $3 billion in targeted acquisitions, internal development, we started building this out about 2 years ago with the acquisition of Vigilon. Really started to get interesting. That's when we started doing deep customer research, talking to dozens of school districts across the country, rural, urban, suburban, small, medium, large, and looking to understand what are some of their top challenges that they face when it comes to school security. And what we found was that most had really similar concerns, you know, at a very basic level. How do we know who's coming into our school? How do we protect people, property across the district? How do we keep teachers and staff, administrators, even parents, all connected and informed as an issue is developing? And then how do we provide eyes on the scene from anywhere across the district, and even out to local first responders? Go ahead one click if you could here, Katie. You know, looking at FEMA's guidelines for incident response, we categorize these challenges then into the 4 pillars of our Safe Schools ecosystem: detect, analyze, communicate, and respond, kind of following the flow of a typical incident. Let's go ahead one more click. And then we looked across our portfolio, obviously well beyond just radio alone and what we're clearly well known for, but to determine what do we offer that it meets these pillars, solves for these challenges. How do we build the right integrations between those? And specifically what I'm showing here at the bottom of this slide is just a handful of the various outcomes that this system can provide. I'm not going to read through each of these, but you know, we'll actually touch on a few of these in the use cases later. But things like detecting a perimeter breach and notifying an officer in real time to their emergency communication radio they're already wearing on their hip, tracking people of interest, right? Whether that be through a license plate hit, face match, quickly identifying missing persons, being able to coordinate with local first responders in real time, and providing alert integration with our incident management software. We'll touch on that a little bit too. But again, all ultimately improving your security team's incident management workflows and their responses. Let's go ahead one more slide here. It's by really by building these meaningful integrations with Moto Turbo radios, Vigilon video security and access control, and our incident management and dispatch software, Ally. We've developed the first and only ecosystem for schools that unifies voice, data, video, analytics, access control, all into one connected platform, allowing your security team to be able to provide instant voice communications, connecting them across workflows across the entire district, utilizing video analytics, leveraging AI at the edge on the camera to identify these key points of interest, unusual motion detected, unusual events, and other types of analytic events that can be set on the camera to receive these immediate notifications then when one of those analytics is triggered, get that notification on the radio. All doing software that allows you to centralize command if that's the desire, or not if you don't have a wall of video that you've stood up and staffed 24/7, which most school districts don't. And again, not just during those major emergencies, but throughout everyday operations. And with the support and services, through EMCI, through Motorola Solutions, that you've come to expect from everything that we do deliver. Go ahead, one more slide here. To kind of double click a little bit into the radio portion of the ecosystem, and that being really a core foundational aspect here. Schools' radio networks are typically at the very core of their safety plans and their emergency response. We hear this from so many customers, and we've seen it supported in independent third-party analyst and consultant reports. Land mobile radio provides that always-on, instant push-to-talk, one-to-one, one-to-many communication it's never flooded, even during an emergency event, and it's that one-time capital purchase with no monthly service fees or data charges. Depending on your your facilities requirements, EMCI can also provide you coverage testing, including in-building BDA and DAS design and deployment to provide you with the coverage that you need throughout your district. And one of the greatest things about our Safe Schools ecosystem is that it allows you to leverage radio, that Moto Turbo radio network, to do so much more than just radio alone. Let's go ahead to the next slide, please, Katie. In this slide, I'm showing a pictorial representation of the 3 key integrations within our Safe Schools solution. Starting at the left, you can see outdoor video, and then kind of moving to the right, license plate recognition. That's just a software license on the Vigilon camera. Access control, indoor video alerts, that middle and inner perimeter. All of these alerts sent out to Moto Turbo radios via the radio alert feature. More on that here in a couple slides, actually in the next slide. These same alerts can also be used to open up a call for service in Ally. That's our software for incident management. And that's that next green bar and arrow set there that you see. That alert includes a video clip of the event that triggered it. So it could be an ex-employee who's been entered on a hot list and their license plate has been detected as they pull onto campus. And that, video clip of them exiting their vehicle, providing you with more situational awareness about the individual that's approaching the building. With a few clicks, that alert can be escalated to a call for service and escalated to an incident in Ally. Also, during an escalated event, that live video feed can be streamed out in real time to local first responders. So using that third integration there between the Vigilon and Command Central Aware. Local first responders may be using Command Central Aware. With that, they get a free connector to provide school districts and other critical infrastructure within their coverage area to be able to connect in real time back to that Command Central Aware position at their 911 call center or command center or fusion center. It's really this integrated workflow, though, that results in more proactive security platform that's notifying officers of risks, simplifying their workflow, to reduce the amount of time they have to spend behind a keyboard and the amount of time that they're watching video feeds, really. So they're out there able to be talking with students on patrol, better supporting the district in the security needs, and really driving better outcomes. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So that key feature that I just mentioned is in that first integration, that first green arrow set, was radio alert. So it's really the cornerstone within the Safe Schools ecosystem. It's linking your motor turbo radio network and a Vigilance security network, taking those unusual camera analytic events, access control alerts, other sensors. Could be a vape detector in a bathroom, where you obviously never put a camera, but you want to know if students are vaping in a bathroom. That could be another sensor that drives an alert to an officer's radio. It's alerting them as a text-to-voice alert, and very importantly also as a text message. So that's where we found in our research that it was really important that we dual path that. If your officer's in a noisy hallway or a bell's going off and they get that text-to-voice audible alert, suspended student, vehicle in parking lot, right? They miss that audible alert. We couldn't have them the risk of that event being missed entirely. So they also get a text message. They could just pull the radio off their hip, take a look at it, see that same alert in a text message format on their radio. That's where, if you don't have text capable radios, you may need to upgrade your radios for your school security team and maybe some of the administrators, or maybe just the software on the radio to support text messaging. Avigilon ACC, the video management software there from Avigilon, can send these same types of alerts as what we call focus of attention alerts to a wall of video, drawing that person's attention to that particular camera event. But people, even with focus of attention, people don't watch walls of video that well, just human failure there. But we also know that most school districts, like I said, mentioned earlier, don't have the resources to stand up a wall of video, let alone staff it 24/7. So really now great thing is you don't need to. You could get those emergency alerts right on that emergency communication device on your officer's head. Let's go to the next slide, please, Katie. I'm going to go to just kind of a side note here, but really an important one for the times that we're living in. I want to kind of walk through some of the capabilities and how nimble and how quickly we brought these capabilities to market post-pandemic. When COVID hit, some of our big brain AI analytics and video engineers got together to determine what can we do to address this new challenge. And as school districts have started exploring options for moving staff and faculty and students back into facilities, and probably are in some format of hybrid in-person and distance learning in many areas across Florida right now, or maybe all in person even. We've built these technologies to help them fight the pandemic and return to school more safely. It's these types of solutions that help prevent the risk of community transmission. Things like occupancy counting, social distancing, no face mask detection. We also offer commercial body-worn cameras to help frontline security staff, your SRO officers, from their risk of aggression and violence, and helping to de-escalate a situation, knowing that that individual is being recording often changes their behavior, increases transparency, that allows them to de-escalate the situation. And then we also offer solutions for contact tracing, as well as thermal cameras to help in response in the curve of COVID, so that if you're screening students as they come into the building, temperature testing, you don't have to have somebody standing there with a temporal scanner. You can have a camera lined up that will allow them to not have to use as much PPE, not be in close contact to somebody who might be asymptomatic carrier of COVID-19, and only provide a secondary screen to those who are flagged by the thermal camera. Just going back a little bit on no face mask detection, that's a real use case in any school, where I imagine in your schools today with in-person learning, you're requiring face masks on students, and that's probably not always being adhered to very well. And the ability to detect a student as they come into the building wearing a face mask. They turn the corner, they're going down the main hallway next, and they take their face mask off. That can send an analytic event alert directly to the officer's radio. Another good one is social distancing. You can set the parameters, but let's say you want to set a 6-foot social distancing rule. This isn't something that you'd probably drive an alert to a radio. That's probably happening way too often for anything like that, but it can be a report at the end of the day where you can look at and review traffic patterns and see where you have students who have been in close contact, violating that 6-foot distance rule at regular points throughout the, in between classes or during special, PE or lunch or wherever, to be able to change behavior, be able to change traffic flow maybe through the hallways, and allow you to address that social distancing in a better way. Same with occupancy counting. If you have maybe a gymnasium or a cafeteria where you're at 25 or 50% capacity, you can set up an occupancy counter with the camera at the entrance and exit of that room that just basically counts 1 in, 1 out, and can flag to, say, just an iPad posted at the entrance to flag or send an alert when that room has reached capacity. So just, some amazing things that we've come out with here, literally within 5 to 6 weeks after the pandemic had really been declared in the country. We started shipping some of these, or really, as a software upgrade, a free software upgrade for that customer who was on that major dot release, getting these capabilities at no additional charge. Let's go ahead to jump into a few of the use cases that I mentioned earlier that we've walked through, that for me at least, to see this in picture format is really illustrative. It just it starts to click in my head. Hopefully these will resonate. But this first one, it seems like bullying is really all too common at schools today, and with cyberbullying, it's not just happening on school grounds or during school hours. Even with remote or distance learning, this could be happening. And unfortunately, the statistics tell us only about 25% of students who have been bullied will actually tell an adult about it. So with the right anonymous tipping solution in place, though, you stand a much better chance of stopping the bullying, or with an anonymous tip coming in about something much more severe, you could perhaps prevent something much worse as well. We'll just go through the bullying case here. Let's go to the next slide, please, Katie. Our mobile-friendly tipping solution, Submit, is a very inexpensive alternative to what you might already be using for anonymous tipping, maybe like a 1-800 see something, say something number, but probably with a lot more capabilities than what your students have and staff have today. Students able to submit a tip here from a phone, a tablet, laptop, along with multimedia information, pictures, or even videos. So really valuable contextual information there for that recipient of the tip to have. Really important also is that that member of the security team, or maybe a school administrator who's receiving those tips, and maybe filtering out anything frivolous, they can, in real time, two-way text back and forth with that tipster to gather more information, keep them there on the phone to be able to get the information that they need to drive a faster resolution. They're able to then escalate that tip if it does require security intervention by opening a call for service in our incident management software. It notifies your security team and officers assigned to follow up on the tip, and once it's resolved, the incident report's completed and logged then for future reference. Pretty simple there. Let's go ahead to the next use case. I think this is my favorite of the three. Here, I think what I hope to show you is how important it is to establish that outer perimeter that we saw in that earlier integration slide, an outer perimeter around your campus, and how camera, artificial intelligence, analytics, in this case, license plate recognition, shave not just seconds, but minutes off of your response times, your officers' response times. Not just for their response, actually also for local law enforcement's response. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Katie. Here, in this case, we've got a disgruntled ex-employee. Their license plate's been detected as he enters the school ground. Now, alternatively, though, this might be a suspended student who's been entered onto the hot list. It might be a parent with custody issues or a restraining order of an employee spouse, or really any access control or access restricted person of interest. I'll mention it, but this can also be done in conjunction with local law enforcement to cast a wider net. And that is to say, to be notified of a sex offender who's come on campus and isn't supposed to be within so many 100 yards of the campus, or a stolen vehicle, a hot plate that's been detected. So in conjunction with local law enforcement, that's a potential capability we can bring to you. As soon as that plate's been recognized by what's probably just one of a few cameras across your campus perimeter parking lot entrances and exits, that alert is sent out to your SRO's radio. More than likely, an SRO is going to actually be able to get out there and meet that individual in the parking lot before they even get to the inner perimeter door to the school. Intercepting it and preventing a potentially dangerous situation. We have one of our Safe Schools customers, actually, I was talking with him last week, and this was the associate superintendent of that district, and he was telling me a story about how they had a former maintenance worker who had just been let go a week ago as part of their standard operating procedure. They entered their plate into a hot list. That individual arrived on campus of one of their high schools, and it was less than 2 minutes before the individual even got to the door, they were able to have three other SRO vehicles descend upon him just to ask questions. As it turned out, he wasn't there for any wrong reasons, but it did point out to the fact that the solution works, and in their case, it will prevent a potentially dangerous situation. In this case, though, jumping back to our use case, let's say that the nearest SRO happened to be about 3 minutes away, right? And in this case, that individual gets to the front entrance. Here, they could be flagged again with a face match alert. Back at the same time that license plate hit was received, that alert automatically is pushed into our incident management software. Depending on the threat that individual poses, the SRO might choose to escalate that call to local law enforcement and begin streaming that live video out to their command center or 911 call center. In this case, back to our use case, this isn't the offender's first time. For prior incident records in Ally, even your newest SRO can determine that this individual is known to be unstable, potentially dangerous. An alert can be sent out using mass notification here and notifying all staff of a potential threat on campus, and that local law enforcement is en route to address the situation. Let's go to the last use case here, Katie. Thanks. In this case, sadly, the fact is over 250,000 students in the U.S. have experienced gun violence at their school over the last 20 years. And really until this year, because a lot of students have been distance learning for parts of the year, that trend has only been increasing. Go ahead, one more slide here. Safe schools is not a silver bullet. Clearly it can't prevent every type of major incident, but it does provide many of the tools needed to identify risks and issues before they become major incidents. With high resolution cameras, advanced analytics, you can detect persons of interest as they enter your school grounds and before they enter your buildings. With radio communications, you can direct connect out to local law enforcement as well. Both radio and that live video feed that I mentioned, connecting your Moto Turbo radio to their P25 public safety radio system. So in real time, you can patch those and be able to communicate from your turbo radio to first responders. And allowing between that and the live video feed, it allows local first responders to be able to respond faster with better situational awareness and better coordination with your security team. Let's go ahead into the pictures here on the next slide. Here we've got an individual who forced their way into the side door of a school. That access control breach notification, again, alerts your SRO team on their radio of that door, what door it was, and within 2 seconds after that door's been breached. An intruder is recognized from a watch list, and your SROs are able to now track their movement throughout the building in real time. They're able to see where they're traveling, the direction as they pass from one camera to the next, where they were last seen. And in one of the videos, they're able to see that that intruder is carrying a gun. At that point, they send out that emergency communication, immediately locking down the building. Doorways are secured, perpetrators contained, local public safety is directly engaged for rapid response with that video real-time situational awareness as well. Let's go ahead and to touch on a few of the pain points here that this ecosystem addresses and kind of summarize. Again, not just for these major emergencies like that last use case, but everyday minor incidents. As I've been saying here, probably is the case in your school district. I know it's the case in every school I've talked to. They're using video for post-incident analysis. With a Vigilon camera analytics, particularly when paired with this radio alert integration, it allows your team, your security team, to be more proactive and even prevent incidents from occurring. Another example might be a large crowd gathering in a parking lot. That can be an analytic event that notifies, perhaps allows the officers to get there before a fight breaks out. Safe Schools also addresses concerns of connecting staff and first responders with both voice and video. Layering in a vigilant access control addresses the vulnerabilities that you may not even know that you have at unalarmed doors or doors being propped open. Might be just to allow a student to avoid a tardy, or it might be for much worse. But providing these alerts directly, again, to the officers' radios. Schools will often, districts will spend thousands of dollars to install a locked visitor's vestibule at the main entry to the school, only to find out that that perimeter can be easily breached by a student just propping a non-alarmed door open. In fact, that same associate superintendent I was talking to last week mentioned that at their 2 high schools in their district, they have roughly 20 doors, some of those non-alarmed, and they thought they had a really secure perimeter. They found out it was more like a sieve. When they implemented this solution and with that access control and notification to the radios, they were getting 10 to 20 notifications at each of the high schools per day of a door that had been propped or a student who had exited at when they weren't supposed to. And they've been able to obviously tighten that up. They put signs up at the door saying it's a non-alarm door, but you will be caught if you're exiting, and let's put an end to that. But lastly here too, I'm sure you're challenged to show your community how you're improving safety within your schools, and Safe Schools addresses that need head on. Let's go ahead to just a few quotes here, Katie. In this case, if you go to the next slide, that is actually the case I just mentioned here of those 20 doors into one of those 2 high schools I mentioned, and where they thought that had been rock solid, secure, and now they've, since implementing the solution, they found out that only now is it truly secure. They're notified of those breaches in a moment's notice. Let's go to the next slide. This, I think, really just speaks to, as I mentioned earlier, that one of the core foundations here is radio communications, and having that radio comm system in place that addresses that always on, never flooded need, something that can be counted on during any event, any time of the day. And then lastly, next slide. This is a really interesting story. Actual case of a student who gets off the bus every day. Mom picks him up at the bus stop. Well, this particular day, Jimmy didn't get off the bus. Mom calls the school. Where's Jimmy? What used to take them an hour, maybe 2 hours, sifting through video from multiple camera feeds, trying to find Jimmy. In this case, they're able to ask Mom, well, what was Jimmy wearing today? Oh, well, he had a red jacket on and blue jeans. And they're able to go through, and within 5 minutes, while Mom's still on the phone, she's not out there on social media saying, hey, the school lost my kid. They're able to identify that, well, Jimmy exited the building at this particular time of day and did not get on a bus. Mom, he got into this red Chevy truck. Do you know that vehicle? Well, yeah, that's his brother's car. Great. So, in that case, again, one that could have ended or could have been headed in a much worse direction. But in this case, again, it proved the solution works, and it allowed that mother, in particular, a lot more peace of mind knowing that her son was safe. Let's go ahead to one of our last slides here, and I always like to tell prospective customers about this grant assistance program that Motorola Solutions offers. Through educationgrantshelp.com, we partnered with them to help you with your grant needs. Why this is important? Going back to 2019, there was over $1 billion in school security funding. If you look at last year with the CARES Act, it was over $30 billion for school funding. Now, not all of that was directed to security. A large portion of that was for distance learning, of which our Nitro solution addresses really well, and we're seeing a lot of traction with that and using CARES funding for Nitro private LTE for distance learning, but also for things like preventing the spread of COVID. That's what that funding is intended for. And it looks like with this next round of stimulus funding, it has been earmarked a large chunk of money also for schools for similar types of needs for distance learning and COVID spread prevention. One grant program in particular, the SVPP grant, last year was $50 million. We expected, I think in 2019 it was $25 million. We'll see where that comes in. We should know by probably end of first quarter, what dollar value will be associated with that. But things like that, as well as state and local grants that this service can help you be aware of. We could see last year there was $100 million just for the state of Texas for public security or school security. But Education Grants Help will provide you with a grant account manager, free research, free weekly grant alerts, consultation. It's really until it comes time to put pencil to paper and apply for a grant. They provide you with all these free services. And if you don't have somebody who is writing grant applications for your district, only then would you really need them or be writing a check to them. And they do provide a 50% discount to schools, to education facilities on their grant writing services. So great service there. I encourage you to use that. There's a link here in the deck, and please look for those funds here. There will be more coming this year with more CARES Act type grants. So with that, let's go ahead and go to our last slide. Just to wrap things up, and we'll jump to Q&A. We still have a bit of time for some questions. Hopefully, you've been able to add those to the chat window here. We'll cover those next. But just to summarize here, you can see the key integrations within that diagram. Radio comms, video security analytics, access control, and that operational management software, that incident management software. Bringing these together in meaningful integrations for you to know who's on your school grounds, keep an eye on students, staff, better connect with them, with parents, even out to local public safety as well, and provide you this in a single cohesive package, an ecosystem, but very importantly, as I mentioned in one of the first slides, in a way that allows you to expand over time and build out to add these capabilities in the order of priority that makes the most sense for your district, addressing those highest priority, highest concerning areas first. The things that keep you up at night when it comes to school security, we'll go tackle those first, but with the vision, kind of starting with the end in mind of what that particular technology sleeve will bring you as you add other things down the road. So with that, let's turn it back over to you, Katie, for some Q&A here. Hopefully we have some questions that are coming in.
Yes, we do have a couple, and I just want to remind everyone that if you do have a question, there's a little question box that you can type into, and we will get to them. First question. Oh, and while I do that, I want to have, this is the contact information if you want to take it down and get in touch with EMCI directly. So the first question, are special cameras required for license plate recognition?
Great question. So yes and no. I mean, the camera needs to be of a resolution and at an angle and that is able to detect the the resolution of that plate, but it doesn't need to be an Avigilon camera. First of all, we can use an AI appliance and LPR software license, but we do offer several different types of Avigilon cameras that can work with that license plate solution, license plate recognition solution, and with the simple addition of an LPR software license on those cameras, you're able to derive that type of scenario at your entrances and exits to your maybe just your high school parking lots.
Great. Next question. We recently updated our video security network to a vendor that is not Avigilon. Can safe schools still be implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. What I will say is that those cameras could still be utilized. What we would need to do is migrate you to the Avigilon ACC, that's the Avigilon Control Center VMS software. But with Avigilon ACC, those competitive, cameras, other third-party cameras, as long as they're ONVIF compliant, can be made to just drive the same type of analytics, the same type of outcomes as what I've shown here. We have an AI appliance box that would be added. We actually just significantly reduced the price of those AI appliances at the beginning of this year. So that makes that a lot more affordable for schools who have perfectly good cameras that don't need to be moved or reinstalled elsewhere. But that's another option too. And we've seen that with some schools where they maybe have lower resolution cameras and they wanted to do face match, or they wanted to do license plate recognition, and they could move cameras from one area of a building to another that's maybe less concern, and add in a handful of cameras at those key areas and entrances and exits to the perimeter and to the building itself.
And the last question we have, our district uses a Moto Turbo IP Site Connect network. Is that compatible with Radio Alert?
Yeah, great question. It is. It is. In fact, all of our Moto Turbo networks, except for Connect Plus, support Radio Alert. And again, the radios themselves, it's really the mid-tier and high-tier. So think XPR 3500, SL 3500, XPR 7500, and SL 7500 series series radios that are text capable. They have a display. Those are the radios that you may need to upgrade to, or at least add text capable software to, so that your security team can get those text messages, in particular, maybe some of the administrators as well.
Great, and that does it today for our questions. So I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this morning, and we'll follow up if you guys have any other questions.
Great, thank you everybody for joining, and thank you EMCI for putting this together. Really appreciate it.